I want to take a moment and thank our show sponsors, Lombardi Chiropractic, Sutmeyer Law Firm, and NativePath Supplements. These are companies we personally use and trust. Mention the Co-Movement Gym podcast when you call Lombardi Chiropractic or Sutmeyer Law Firm. And not only will they treat you like family, they will provide a nice, enticing discount to all listeners. And use code COMO15, that's COMO 15 at checkout when shopping at nativepath.com and receive 15% off all of your orders. Your support to our show sponsors assists in us paying for expenses and continuing to provide content we hope you all enjoy. Welcome to the Co-Movement Gym podcast, where we inspire people to move and live courageously. You got me and Andy in the studio here.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Great.
Nice. We're going to kick off with a question that you thought of a few weeks ago, and we thought it was so important that to do an episode on it. So what's that question?
Yeah, I was hanging out with a friend, and I don't know how I thought to ask it, but I had the question of, because I'm turning 41 this week actually, and you're 40 now or getting there this
September,
summer.
right there.
Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, what would I like to be able to do physically at the age of 50? I'm thinking that my 50th birthday is coming along in less than a decade. I'm like, what would I be really proud of myself if I could accomplish on my 50th birthday as physical goals? Because I really am thinking, and I always have thought in terms of longevity a lot, but I'm thinking of it, you think of it more and more the older you get, and it was actually harder than I thought to think of what I would like to be able to do at 50 years old. But then I thought, geez, I'd like to know what other people think about this too. So I thought it'd be a great episode for a podcast. I want to know what you think.
Dude, I smiled when you asked me that. That was like, this is a great question. It's a great topic because, it's not that age is anything that special necessarily, right? But I think it's the whole premise of asking ourselves, where do we want to be in the future and the prep to get there?
Exactly,
right?
Because I think a lot of people, when they think of training, they think way too short term, which is fine. Like, there's things you can do when you're in your 20s that go for them then, because you're not going to be able to do them later on in life, probably. But short-term goals are great, but I really do. I've always thought in terms of longevity, and I would like to structure my training, or at least always have it in the back of my mind that I'm working towards this healthy, fit, functional body that I want to have at 50, 60, 70, 80, and so on.
Yes. And it gives you motivation and inspiration to keep training.
Now.
Yes.
Yeah. If you have this idea in your mind of who you want to be or what you want to be capable of as, say, a senior citizen, like you said, you're motivated to start working on that or maintaining those things now.
Absolutely. And I think there's a challenge also at play with, like, we hit a certain peak, right? 30 to 35 generally. And then we start declining because that's age and nature. It's just the way that we're wired. And so, but I think there's a really cool piece about maintaining and fighting that within respect of, the abilities, right?
There's the acceptance that things do change with age, but also kind of the striving to reduce that as much as possible. Have that have that long health span for as long as you can, which is my ultimate goal always.
And I think that if you don't lose sight of some of these goals, maybe that we're going to get into individually, and you stay on it and don't fall off that cliff, it'll be much easier to maintain much farther than 50.
Oh yeah,
right?
I think so too.
Because you're not saying, I took 6 years off and now I want to go back to doing handstands or whatever, like then it's a lot harder when you're 56 and you didn't do shit for 6 years. Versus maintaining that. The body's response and muscle memory, I think, is remarkable. And it'll be very interesting when we have this conversation, maybe at 60, or what are your goals at 70?
Exactly.
And it's like, well, shit, we're still, banging it out because we set realistic goals, which I think that's something I do want I did this with mine. I did not make these super fancy.
Right.
Maybe to some people they are, but again, look who it's for.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a magic touch there with seeing how far we could push us out.
That was kind of the fun of creating these goals, was wondering how intense to make them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want to be realistic. So I don't want to like set a goal that's like something I can't do now necessarily. And I'm like, I'm expecting to do this when I'm 50 and I can't do it when I'm 40. Like, I don't want to be too unrealistic, but at the same time, I don't want to be too easy on myself and be like, oh, well, I'm going to be declining, so I hope I can do 5 push-ups when I'm 50.
Oh,
I mean? Like,
that's depressing.
Yeah, exactly. So I really took the standpoint of like me where I am right now and knowing what I'm capable of. When I'm on my 50th birthday, what would I be really proud of myself for still being able to do?
Yeah.
And that's like the way that I approach this challenge.
Yeah, dude. So you want to start?
Sure. But also I was going to say, it's also kind of neat because I think I'm going to keep this document, I've typed up and you've written down like our goals or whatever. And I'm going to like try to do it, in my 50th year. Like,
for sure.
That's the whole point of this. Like, this isn't just like lip service. Like, oh, it'd be nice to do this.
Oh no, I thought about these.
Yeah. Like,
for sure.
I want to hold on to this and then like do it and be proud of myself for doing it.
For sure. So we'll go back and forth. You bang one, I'll hit one.
Sure. And I mean, just
how many do you have?
I didn't know how to structure this. I basically had categories.
Okay.
And I said, okay, like, what should a strength goal be? What should a mobility goal be? What should maybe a conditioning or aerobic ability goal be? And then I've got like another category that's just, skill. Like I've got a skill goal and then like a little personal challenge that I have at the end too, like a sport or hobby goal.
Okay.
And I have no idea how you structured them or whatever.
It's funny because based on I have 5 and then a bonus, so 6 technically. They sort of fall into all those categories.
Okay.
I just didn't categorize them like that. I just wrote them down. But yeah, it's sort of very similar. So
okay. So the hardest thing for me, this actually gets easier as it goes. The hardest thing for me actually was in the category of strength.
Okay.
Because it was hard because like a single exercise is too hard to pick. Like, I mean, like what do I say? Am I going to do an upper body pushing goal and neglect my legs or whatever?
Sure.
So for the strength goal, I actually had to choose like a few different exercises and say on my 50, like not necessarily on one day, but like in my 50s, I'd like to be able to accomplish these things. So I said and this is where it's kind of funny. These are very basic exercises, like the basic foundational exercises. But I said for like a lower body pull, I think it'd be nice to be able to do a 1.5 times body weight deadlift, which for me would be would be like 240 pounds, which I can do easily right now. And 8 years from now, I'm not trying to increase my deadlift or anything like that. But I'd like to still be able to do that, with relative ease, or the equivalent. Like, I don't know. That would be like for 1 rep, whatever the equivalent of that is for 5 reps. Like, I don't necessarily have to do 1 rep or 5.
Sure. I can easily
that level of strength. I'd like to be able to do.
Is that 240, 250?
Yeah, maybe about 240.
I can easily see you doing that for a single.
Yeah, because I can do that easily now for 3 or 4. So I have to assume I'll still be able to then, as long as I keep maintaining it.
And that's a great lift. I almost put that in there, the deadlift, but I didn't, which is cool because we're different with this.
I'm really curious to see how our lists go, because I think you're going to be more creative. The individual exercises. Well,
no, I actually was thinking of the 1.5 deadlift. I actually, this morning, I almost wrote that down, but then I don't know. I just came up with some other things, but that is important to me very much. So it's I think it's a king of a lower body type thing. Right. Yeah. But I think that's super cool. So,
for a lower, but I'll just give you my 5 strength things here.
Okay.
For the lower body push, I went with a front squat. And just said, I like to be able to do, body weight front squat.
Cool.
Which I can do now. And again, I just like to still be able to 8 years from now.
Okay.
For an upper body pull, I said, I actually had 2. I said, chest to bar chin up with about 0.6 my body weight, which is roughly doing a chest to bar chin up with 100 pounds added to my body.
That's great. That's really, where are you at now? Like
I can do about
30?
120, 125.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
That. Yeah.
And then again, for listeners, this is chest to bar.
Yeah.
This isn't like throw my chin over and get lucky with the chicken neck.
Right. This is a good form chin up.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Where you bring the bar right to your chest. And
I like that.
Stretching your body.
Considering 81% of people can't do a chin up with body weight, you're saying at 50, you want to do a chin up with 100 pounds added, and you're touching your chest to the bar.
Yes. And this isn't something that I would say, so my list isn't like at 50 years old, this is what people should be able to do.
Sure.
This is based on where I am now and what I want to be able to do.
Totally. I recommend people look at where they are and what
absolutely.
they want to do. We're not saying this is like a checklist for humanity.
Right.
This is based on where we are.
Yeah. So like a 100-pound added to your body chin up is way more pulling strength than anyone needs. That's totally an unnecessary goal for health. But given what I do and what I'm capable of right now, that's what I want to still be able to do when I'm 50.
Awesome.
I added to that too, just a front lever for 7 seconds. I can do a 10-second front lever now. I maintain that really well. I do front levers all the time. So I would just like to maintain that. But in any case, upper body push. I said handstand push up to the floor.
Okay.
So you actually last week did a couple nice handstand push-ups, but full range of motion, touching your chest to a box.
I went as far down as humanly possible.
Yeah. That would be like a stretch goal for me, but that's still a very hard thing for me to do right now.
Okay.
It's something that I'm always progressing towards and I continue to work on.
Yep.
I would love to have that as my stretch goal at 50.
Yep.
But I'll be happy and proud of myself if I can still do handstand push-ups, nose to floor. I can do 3 to 5 of them right now in a row.
Yep.
So just to still be able to do one.
And for people listening, these are freestanding, unassisted, no wall.
Right. Yep. Okay. Just standing up in the middle of my living room. Handstand push-up.
Awesome.
With good form.
Awesome.
And then so that was lower body pull push, upper body pull push. And then for other, I also put in a strict ring muscle up.
I love that. I love all these. That is I thought about that one too, and I actually don't have it, but that is a goal.
And that's just a sign of shoulder health that I like to have. And I said, I'd still like to be able to do a Stalder press negative. So you've seen me, I do those Stalder press negatives all the time. That's easy for me to perform right now, and I would just like to still be able to do that. Because of some back issues that I've had in the past, I still can't do a regular Stalder press. But just to be able to do the negative version, which is much easier, I'd be happy still doing that at 50.
So for people that don't know what that is, look it up. STALDER press. It's like an L sit on the floor, go to press handstand and reverse back down. You're saying you want to do the lowering phase of that.
And I want to do a straddle version of that.
Straddle, not the pike.
Right.
No, I never got remotely close to the pike. So.
And the last thing that I put in the strength category was a Turkish get up with a 70-pound kettlebell.
We have something in common there.
I knew that was
okay. With a 70-pound kettlebell, both arms.
Both arms.
And if you don't know what Turkish get up is and you're listening, look that up. That you would agree is one of our top movements.
And I almost put that in the mobility / function category, but I just decided to throw it into strength. So that was a lot of different exercises
for strength.
For strength, I had to have a list because.
So you have actually, So I have 5 with a bonus 6, but I didn't break them down nearly that far.
I didn't expect you.
But I agree with and resonate with every single one of those. The lever and the Stalder press negative are huge stretches for me, being that I can't do a 7-second lever now. I can do a halfway version, but I'm nowhere near as strong as you with that. And the Stalder press, I can hit a negative. They're very hard for me, but that's advanced. That's impressive.
But
you're doing it.
That seems very reasonable to me. I know that I can do that and will. I intend to.
For sure.
And my thought process with all those things was just, if I'm testing my strength at 50, those are all of the areas in my body, and those are the lifts that I think show that I have the strength to do all the other things that I want to do as well.
Absolutely. That's a massively good.
So it was the shortest list I could come up with that hits all my bases.
At 50, we'll do a video of you doing them all. All right. So that's great. I guess I'll kick it off with where we ended, the Turkish get up.
Okay. Yep.
So I have a workout. I did it on Saturday, and I've had a few people do it since then. I call it the hotel workout. I designed it a few years ago. I was in Tennessee, short on time, short on equipment. And this workout has stuck with me for the 2 years. And I love it ever since. It's 20 repetitions, 10 reps per arm, Turkish get up to the top,
Okay.
Windmill.
Oh, I've seen you do this. Yeah.
Reverse back down to the bottom of the Turkish get up. That's 1 rep.
Yes.
Switch arms, Turkish get up to the top, windmill, dumbbell windmill. So look that up if you're not familiar with that. Reverse the Turkish get back up. 20 repetitions. You can't set the dumbbell down.
Oh, wow.
So I just did it.
All-encompassing workout.
Correct. And I just did this with Bob Galinsky. He watched me do it the other day. I do it with a 50-pound dumbbell, which is not a heavy Turkish get up, but it's a pretty heavy windmill.
It is a heavy one, yeah.
But what maybe people aren't recognizing here is I'm not setting it down.
Right.
And so I just did it, like I said, a few days ago in 737. 20 reps and I'm sweating and breathing hard. And I just had Dylan do it the other day with 40 pounds. He's 21, super fit, and he was drenched.
Oh, absolutely.
And at 10 pounds less, and I could be his dad.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. And, I was thinking like, I would be very happy if I could go, I put in here sub 10 minutes. So I'm giving myself a few more extra minutes. Same weight though. And I think that's a really good indicator of mobility, overall unilateral work, some aerobic capacity, because you do breathe some.
Oh yeah.
And I love that workout. So 20 repetitions, Turkish get up, windmill at the top, reverse the Turkish get up, 10 reps per arm.
I mean, that's why we love the Turkish get up so much, is because it requires so many different physical attributes.
Yes.
All the mobility, strength, and now you're adding the conditioning piece as well.
You can't set it down. And and Dylan said the same thing, and a few other people, that about rep 12, you're like, oh shit, like I would really like to set this down. And you can rest at the bottom on your back, but you're holding the dumbbell in a press position. So it's not on your chest or on the floor. You're still in a position that you're under tension. And so that would be my first one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So at 50 years old, I want to do that in under 10 minutes.
I love it. Yeah. So my list gets a lot simpler now. My next category was just mobility and function. And again, I just picked one for the lower and one for the upper. I'd still like to be able to do straddle ups from the floor.
That's my number one mobility movement. I love that.
Yeah. And if I can continue to do that for as long as possible in my life, that's what I want to be able to do.
Awesome.
And then for an upper body mobility, I said to skin the cat with full range of motion.
And that's strength too.
That is strength. Yeah. Those are easy for me to perform now, but being able to go into a full German hang with a lot of hyperextension and then pull out of it with control. That to me is one of the best upper body, like shoulder health sort of indicators that we have.
Absolutely.
So
the shoulder
to do
extension at the
those
bottom.
two things. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I love both of those. My second one is swim 1 mile. Open water. Pool.
I was wondering if you're going to put that in. Okay.
Yeah. Good. I'm not an advanced swimmer. I'm actually considered a beginner swimmer based on my times. But I think I love swimming. Not even just so much exercise, but it's nature, it's cold water, it's, your open water. So it's black underneath you, there's a lot of stuff for me because I'm not like super comfortable in the water. I'm okay now, but it's not like I grew up in a pool. Right. So I think
mostly you taught yourself to swim
I did.
The last year or two.
Yeah. I hired a Hamilton College swim coach for some lessons. And then after that, I took it all the way. But I think that would be cool. I know that's very doable. There's people in their 70s doing that. But again, I think that's impressive, at least for where my background is with swimming. So to swim 1 mile, open water, I would be happy with that.
I love it. And that ties right into my next one.
Okay.
And of course, for you, it's swimming. And for me, it's running. Right? So, and this almost sounds a little bit cringy because, as trainers, we always, we don't love it when someone says, oh, my goal is to run a marathon. Because so many people think that running a marathon is like this epitome of fitness or something, when in actuality, for a lot of people, it's actually damaging. And just not the thing to focus on for health.
Absolutely.
However, I love running. I love distance running. And the marathon distance is actually pretty perfect for what I want to get out of this.
Wow.
So I said, at the age of 50, I'd like to be able to run a marathon in under 4 hours.
Ooh.
So that's something that I've done a lot in the past. Yeah, I'll have to explain a little bit about the why behind this. So for one thing, I really enjoy running. I already said that. It's like my meditation. It's something that I get a lot out of, and I want it to be a part of my life for as long as possible. So a marathon in under 4 hours is not that difficult of a goal for runners. There's tons of 50-year-olds, there's tens of thousands of them all over the country who are doing marathons in under 4 hours every year. So that's a really common, it's not like an elite goal or anything like that. I've run marathons in the past, several of them under 4 hours. But in the past, like I said, I ran a lot more. I've only recently, in the last year or so, rediscovered my love for running, and I forgot how much joy I get out of it and how much it brings to me. And so, like, just earlier this week, I ran a half marathon, and it felt great. So I think, like, later this year, I'll probably end up building up and doing a full marathon. Not an official race. I'll just run one of my around town somewhere. Sure. Avoid the entry fee. But what I get from running in terms of health, like, obviously there's the benefit with aerobic capacity and stuff. I've also always seen distance running as a bit of a detoxifying activity. Like I sweat a lot. There's breathing. There's all the lymph flow. Like I think it has a lot of benefits there for me. And for anyone who runs with good form and they're not hurting their knees and stuff like that. But one of the biggest benefits with running for me is I feel like it makes my feet stronger. That's one thing that I noticed, like having taken a few years off from running and then coming back, is having a little bit of sore feet getting back into it. Running puts a lot of really interesting stresses on all those little joints and little bones and little muscles and connective tissues all over in your feet. Your feet are what connect you to the earth. And how many older people do you hear, like senior citizens later in life, that complain about having sore feet because they've been on their feet all day, which probably amounts to like an hour or two. So I want to keep my feet nice and strong. And I do notice that I get that benefit, that physical benefit from running. But then there's something that's almost like spiritual in a way about running for me. Like I feel it makes me a better person. It makes me more, whenever I come back from a run, I feel uplifted. I'm more energetic, more positive, more compassionate. Like I'm a much better person when I'm running regularly. And so I want to keep that as part of my life.
Do you find the same correlation with climbing? Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. Yeah. Because that one I'm more focused on performance. And I think the sport aspect of it gets in the way because I'm more hard on myself. Whereas with running, I'm out there, I'm not competing in races or anything like that. I'm out there for the actual activity itself. And so, running does that for me more. I think running is the best antidepressant that I've ever found in my life. I feel so much better when I'm in, and that's why I want to keep it as part of my life for as long as possible.
Man, dude, that, and I like how you connect it beyond just performance.
And as far as like the 4 hour time, that's like the perfect time where I know it's doable. I could do it faster if I wanted to. I've run like 3:30 in a marathon, but that requires a lot of training, more than I want to commit. 4 hours is like the perfect amount. It's about an 8:30, 8:40 pace, where it's like I'm displaying the aerobic capacity that I want, but I'm also not killing myself with training or going all out or anything.
That's awesome. I love that goal. That's not a goal of mine, but I think that is awesome. And I have weak feet, so it's like, go figure. I don't run. All right. The next one for me is unique. Some would call it exercise, some wouldn't, depending on your experience with this, but I would like to be able to perform 8 hours of manual labor. And like my dad. My dad's 62.
Or all the Amish farmers we have down the street.
And like, I'm not a construction guy, I'm not a farmer, but like manual labor. And I'm like, whether it's building or landscaping or something physical outside, moving things with your hands, I want to be able to do that for 8 hours. Like on a Saturday, it's sunny and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to work hard today. I want to be able to work hard and not be limited. And I don't even know what that means. We'll like climb a ladder, hammer a nail, carry boards,
you know, when you've had a good day outside of physical activity that you're proud of, where you moved a lot of brush, logs, things like that, whether you're outside snow blowing, shoveling, whatever, like, you know how you know what type of day you're looking for there.
For sure.
You do a lot of that work.
I do. And I want the capability to do it and still enjoy it versus like, you know, my back killing me.
I shovel in the driveway or whatever.
For sure. Or say I get aggressive and I say, you know, I really want to do a project. I want to build a shed or a small garage, or, you know, I just want to be able to go put in a hard day at 50 and go home and have dinner and be cool about it. You know,
I love it. That's awesome. Next one was my skill goal. And for me, that's, this is going to be maybe a tough one. I don't know, but I want to be able to do a 90-second handstand.
I knew you were going to put that in there. I just didn't know how long.
And so I just really enjoy handstands. They're a lot of fun for me. I do them every single day. And I want to keep that as part of my life forever.
I love that.
It'll be a sad day when I can't enjoy that skill anymore, because I just get so much fun out of it. And, it also, you know, tests balance. Balance is really important to keep sharp as you age. It requires mobility, the shoulder flexion, and keeping a good T-spine for good posture, all important for later in life. And the reason I chose 90 seconds is my absolute best. I've done 2 minutes, but that's extremely hard. And I don't know if I can still do that at 50. What would I be proud of to do at 50? I can still do 90 seconds pretty much every day now. It's very challenging, but I know that I can maintain that. So to do that at 50, I'd be psyched.
That's great. I almost put a 60-second handstand in for me, but I went a bit farther, only because I've done this now for 2 years in a row, and I'll be doing it on my 40th birthday in September for the 3rd year in a row.
Oh, I know this one.
Yes. It's a handstand. Okay. Handstand push-ups. So you had mentioned that. But mine is based on reps correlated to my age for time. So what I mean by that, for people listening, I'm turning last year, let's say, I did 39 handstand push-ups for time. So I set a timer. I did it up in Inlet in the Adirondacks. I had Pandora going and I hit start on my phone for timer, and I was warmed up and I went for it. I did mainly doubles, some singles, all quality. If I failed, it didn't count. And I don't know. I think I did it in like 30 minutes and something, 39 reps.
Handstand push-ups.
So like this year I'll be doing 40 for time. So my goal at 50, and again, this is, people will be like, oh, that's wild. They're not that hard for us, right? At this point, especially singles and doubles. You know, these aren't full depth. These are to the floor. So these are like half handstand. You could argue that, right? So I wanted to be able to do 50 of them at 50 and in under an hour. So I'm doing in 30 minutes, 39. So it's quite a turn in time. But 50 handstand push-ups, I think that's it incorporates the handstand. You can't not be really good at handstands and do handstand push-ups. Like that's a given, right? But then there's an endurance component in terms of muscular endurance, obviously strength, balance, timing, coordination. You know, there's things there. Does it correlate to longevity? No. But is it something I think it would be fun to chase?
It's something you want to be able to do.
It is. You know? It is. And I
it gets you motivated to keep training.
And I may drop the time aspect at some point, because that is irrelevant to me. It's not like when I did the 39 last year, it's not like, oh, I've got to beat 32 minutes or something. I really didn't even care. I wanted 39 quality.
You were
curious. I wanted 39 quality handstand push-ups, freestanding. And then at 50, I want 50 quality. I definitely think I can average 1 a minute. They only take like 5 seconds. You know, so
That's great. And that highlights too the difference we were saying, like everyone is going to have different goals based on what they're capable of and what they gravitate towards. So like, you know, me, my handstand, I want to be able to do a handstand push-up when I'm 50. Hopefully I'll be able to do more, but I'd still be very happy with myself if I can perform them at 50.
For sure.
And you're saying when I turn 50, I want to do 50 of them in under an hour. You know? But then I'm wanting to do a 7-second front lever, and you're like, I don't know if I'll even be able to
I can't do it now.
Right.
And you want to do a 90-second handstand at 50, which I can't do now.
Right.
My record is 1:15, and that's my record.
Yeah.
So yeah, similar but different.
Yep.
Yeah. And for people listening, again, we're encouraging them to come up with their own list, but it could be 50 quality push-ups. Like not in a row. It could be like triples or fives.
Could be walk 3 miles.
It could be walk 3 miles. Like you could chop this down in many, many different ways. And we're not saying that our 2 lists are like the longevity secret, where I would say probably most of this isn't, but it's correlative to what we like. So.
Exactly what we want to be able to do.
Yep. So what do you got now?
My last one is just my like personal sport or hobby challenge, and that's in climbing.
Yep. I
want to be able to do a 5:13 when I'm 50.
Oh yeah, that would be phenomenal.
So for listeners, a 5:13 is just a certain level of climbing, and I accomplished it. I did my first one a couple years ago, and recently I've done another one. And it's a level that I like to be able to maintain and still be able to do at 50 years old. And I know 50-year-old climbers that can do that.
Sure.
I know one person who did his first 5:13 when he was 45.
Awesome.
And now he's still doing them over 50 years old.
Awesome.
Totally achievable. The great thing with climbing, sport climbing, is it's got a lot of longevity.
Yes.
There's also in the sport of climbing, there's something called bouldering, which lends itself a lot more towards youth, because it's like far more powerful, and you kind of peak in bouldering when you're in your
totally power based.
Yep.
Sure.
But sport climbing, people perform incredibly well until they're 50, 60 years old. So to still be able to climb 5:13 when I'm 50, I would be absolutely psyched.
And for people listening, to respect that level, I think it's hard, right? If you don't climb.
Yep.
So like I have quote unquote climbed on and off throughout the years, and I've never done a 5:10A bolt to bolt. So that's like way off of a 5:13, and I'm fairly strong and capable. So just to give people an idea of the level, that's a very high level at 50, but you're coming from a high level,
right?
And you want to maintain that for 10 more years. Correct. Yep. And that was unbelievable. If you can maintain that for 10 years, then you can. So cool. The last one I have, and then I'll throw my bonus out there. Do you have any more?
Okay. That's it. It's my list.
I do jujitsu. Jujitsu is definitely not a longevity based sport. I don't think it's pretty rough on the body, but at 50, I would like to do 2 days a week with 2 to 3 rolls a session, moderate, choosing good partners, being smart, right? Because I'm almost 4 years in now, so I have time on the mats. But I think that at that level, 2 sessions a week at 50, you can balance injury, right? Promote longevity, but not lose the skill, right? I'm not going to beat an 18-year-old purple belt, most likely, just 50 and whatever, right? But I'll hang for sure. And, if you've got anyone on the street that wants to do something, I most likely will still be more than capable. But I don't want to let that spear get dull, but I won't be probably sharpening it.
Right. And this is another one of those goals. A big theme with our list is we're choosing things that we love to do that we don't like. For you, it'll be, you love jujitsu. It'll be a sad day when you can't roll anymore.
Sure.
And you're like, no, screw that. I'm going to keep being able to do that for my whole life as long as possible.
Yeah. Just be smart about it. Right. And I think the ego, especially in that sport, it can get to you, but if you're just cool with being cool and with what it is, I think you can go a long way. So, that's my last one. My bonus is something that I got from James Fitzgerald from OPEX years ago. And I think I live by this now, and I really want to be at 50, but like keeping awareness and consciousness around the 3 H's, which we've talked about, happiness. And I want to define that for listeners: being hopeful, driven, and optimistic. I think that's big. This isn't necessarily fitness related. It's more like life coaching. So that's happy. And that's defined by hopeful, driven, and optimistic. Hungry. I want to still have an appetite for quality, good tasting foods, right? And we were talking about this before about like metabolic syndrome and stuff off, camera. I don't want to be craving like sugar and like, beer. Like I want to be craving good like berries and like, a good smoothie and a steak, right? Like I want to have that natural craving, not eat it because it's healthy, right? I think it's a big. And then the last thing is what it is, but horny, the 3 H's. I want good hormones, right? Testosterone. I don't think that's anything people should shy away from, girls or guys. We're human beings with natural urges. And like, if that gets too far away from center line, there's some kinds of issues, right? And it could be
vitality.
Yes, and it could be 1,000 different things, right? But those 3 H's for me, happy, hungry, horny, those are all signs that things are in check, aligning correctly. And if the 5 prior things I mentioned are also working with the goals, you're hoping all of that meshes, right? So
great list. Nice.
Yeah, this was a sweet episode.
Yeah,
so
totally. I'm gonna hold on to this, and then we'll take some videos when we turn 50.
Hell yeah, and I'll take some videos in September with the handstands, and I'll see if I get it. Maybe the 40.
Yeah.
I just tested some the other day, and I think I'll be okay. So
awesome.
But cool. So yeah, we're signing off, everyone. Thank you for supporting us. Come up with your own list. Keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye, guys.
I want to take a moment and thank our show sponsors, Lombardi Chiropractic, Suttmeyer Law Firm, and NativePath Supplements. These are companies we personally use and trust. Mention the Co-Movement Gym podcast when you call Lombardi Chiropractic or Suttmeyer Law Firm. And not only will they treat you like family, they will provide a nice, enticing discount to all listeners. And use code COMO15, that's COMO 15 at checkout when shopping at nativepath.com and receive 15% off all of your orders. Your support to our show sponsors assists in us paying for expenses and continuing to provide content we hope you all enjoy.